Really want this to go so well because I think it could be the start of something huge. I think it could be the start of a music festival in future. Yeah, we have to get things right. Hello again, it's me. Back in the same place as yesterday, actually. But that's because, firstly, I've been up to check on the animals. Secondly, I want to show you from up here where the concert's going to be. Bit out of breath. It's quite a walk up here. So I'm looking down from the fields behind the chateau, and you can see the chateau behind there. The chicken runs down there, and this is the barn complex along here. There's an old tower house here, which is possibly the original chateau. It's very, very old. Given that the main chateau, we have records from 1301, this could be even older. Then this part of it is barn. There's another barn behind it on the other side, but it's here that we're going to be holding the concert. And those of you who followed us on TV will have seen part of that room, and I'm going to come and show it to you now. And just before I do, right up there on the top of that mountain is the original fortress that the Lords of Rosieres had in the 9th and 10th centuries before they came down here to build this one. I'm not sure I've got a good enough zoom for it, but you can see the ruins just on the top of that dip there. It's pretty cool to be able to see them. So this is the first part of the barn. It's divided into two, and in fact it was the owners before us who opened up the space between to have a wedding in here. And back on the TV show, we put this mezzanine in, because eventually when we use this for retreats, for things like yoga and stuff, we thought it'd be really nice to have this relaxation area on top, and underneath we'll have storage and toilets and things like that. But we've actually never got any further on than we were on the TV show. And in fact, this room and this room, until very recently, was so full of things that you couldn't even get into the barn. Anything from the hydroponics setup that Marc's now put into the his new high-tech transformed water system, through to a lot of wardrobes, which are part of another story entirely, through to many, many doors, also another story, and planks of wood and everything we get from auctions. Basically, all the things that we've bought or stored on the understanding that we can use, with the aim of using them in future. We don't just have junk for the sake of it, much as it might look like it. It's really that if you try and buy everything at the moment that you need it, you end up paying a lot of money, and we'd rather be looking for it and gathering stuff in the years before certain parts of the chateau are ready. But for the last 3 or 4 weeks, Marc, our friend Stefan, and then this week Michael, who did the amazing wall painting in the coach house, who's come back as a volunteer, have been clearing this, and it's been a gargantuan effort. Oh, and our friends who came to visit in the summer, who thought they were coming for a nice weekend and ended up moving furniture. It might be a bit frustrating to not see this transformation, but the difficulty is really trying to gather equipment for filming, make sure things are charged up, find the right SD cards, setting up tripods, all of this stuff. When you have limited people, limited time, you just don't have time to do it. But I know that Margot did some time lapses, I believe, of the early stages of it. So I'm going to dig them out, and they'll either be in this episode or more likely another one, where I'll show you quite what we did to clear this place. And whilst I'm talking about her, a little word on Margot. We've lost her. It's so sad. I mean, it's great for her. She's gone back to university, and she's gone to university in the UK to study history of art, which was always the plan. And we're so happy for her, but we do miss her so much. And we hope to get her back as often as possible, just in case you're wondering where she is. So now I'm going to talk you through, again, I'll be from behind the camera, how this room is going to be laid out for the concert. I'm just going to situate you again. So we're in the barn behind the main chateau. Here's the hayloft and the woodshed below it. And then down here, there's a path, a driveway, there's a loop here around the chapel. And people will be parking in a field by the main gate and then walking up the driveway, round the corner and up here. You can hear panting, it's big dog, Pepper. Oh, my papa. They'll then walk up the ramp and into the barn, which Stefan has beautifully oiled and Marc has put some new hinges on. In here will be the sort of welcome area and maybe some overflow seating, but the ideal will be that everybody fits in here. And this is the old medieval barn. There's some fabulous old timber in this wall. I don't know if you can see behind here, from very, very long ago. It's pretty rustic. And the group will be in the middle at the back there, because having a wall behind them apparently is the best acoustic, and being underneath the tallest part of the room is also good. And we have to fit in, we've got 9 musicians, and we have to fit in a harpsichord and a grand piano. So we're hoping to have one on each side, and the string and recorder in the middle. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about the programme later. This door will be closed, unless it's really hot, but I doubt that in mid-October. And the biggest problem, I don't know if you can tell here, this wooden floor will be lovely for acoustics, but you can probably see here, by being able to see daylight through it, isn't the most solid. And our workshop is below. And bringing in a grand piano and 100-odd people is going to put a lot of stress on the floor. One of the main things we're going to have to work on is reinforcing the floor from underneath so that everyone doesn't go crashing down. But it's not very fragile because we've had it stocked with huge amounts of furniture until now, but it definitely needs the load spreading, especially for the piano. The other challenge I think you can probably see for me here, apart from needing to clear some fairly large stuff, the other challenge that remains is trying to work out exactly how many seats we can fit in, because then we know how many tickets we can sell. And we can't just do it on the night because of the logistics of parking, which I'll tell you more about later. Means that we need to know how many people are coming. We need to limit it. We can't suddenly, if by some miracle all of our publicity works, we can't just let everybody come in and pay on the door, because if we have 500 people turn up, it's going to be a total nightmare. So it's going to be tickets only, in advance only. In which case I need to know how many tickets to sell, because we've rented the seats from the town hall, but they are in the salle des fêtes, the village hall at the moment, and I haven't got access to them. I went to a concert there a few weeks back and I sort of measured it with my feet, but I'm not sure that's the most accurate way. I'm going to give it a go though, because I need to be able to update the tickets on the ticketing system. So just to situate you, I've come around the corner here in between those buildings, which was an old road actually. The barn is up here. and past the laundry room where you can see I'm doing laundry, and then to the workshop, which is underneath where the players are going to play. And this is the ceiling. Now you can see they've already reinforced it with a big concrete pylon here, but this is the side at the end of the barn that we're going to need to look at. And yeah, it's the thing that makes Mark go a tiny bit pale whenever I talk about it. But it's partly a problem because it was an old cattle shed. We still have the old floor in here, which is very uneven. And then there's all of these smaller beams. I mean, one of the biggest challenges we have is tidying the place up, because this is a building site. So we have things like scaffolding lying around, piles of gravel, piles of metal, children's toys, bird-related equipment, machinery. The other big problem we have is that some of the musicians will be staying with us for the week before the concert. Some are staying in a gîte nearby and some with us. And honestly, since we moved into the coach house, we've been taking the opportunity to move things around in the main chateau. We've also had another leak, which is causing pretty catastrophic problems. And so the chateau is a bit of a mess. And we've got to tidy the whole thing up for them. I'm sure they'll be understanding with some things, but it's a bit embarrassing if it's not in good shape for them, because these amazing musicians are coming to play absolutely for free, and they want to just have a nice holiday here, and I want them to have a nice holiday here. They are a phenomenal group of musicians. I played a lot of music when I was younger. I was in a lot of orchestras, played the violin and viola, very passionate about classical music. So I was kind of in awe of this group. We have Nettie, who came first, who first sort of fell in love with the place, who's one of the founder members of the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment under Sir John Eliot Gardiner in the UK, which is one of the world's leading early music ensembles. And she still plays with them, as do some of the other group who are coming, the rest of the group who are coming. We also have the former first violin leader of the Halley Orchestra from Manchester, who are my personal favourite orchestra of all time. So this is amazing. Like, you know, I think last weekend half the group were performing in the Royal Albert Hall in London for the BBC Proms. And then a couple of weeks later, they're going to be in our barn in Ardèche. So I desperately want to make a success of it. I really want an audience. Trying to persuade French people to buy tickets in advance is apparently a problem, which I'll explain to you another day. And I really want this to go so well, because I think it could be the start of something huge. I think it could be the start of a music festival in future. So, yeah, we have to get things right. The reason I've been walking you down the driveway is to show you another logistical challenge. Those of you who've watched us for a while will know that beyond the gate, there is a long and winding and rough track to the main road. And once you come through that gate, it's a lot better. But still, this is where people are going to park. We've just moved the cows out of it, so there's still cow-related things. But it's just a field. And again, I have to work out how many people might fit in the field and what backup we could consider if it's rainy and the field gets too muddy. We're also going to need people to help us on the gate, because we can't have people coming and going because there's no passing point on the driveway. So we'll need 2 people with walkie-talkies at either end, letting people in or out, and somebody guiding traffic. So we're going to be reliant on some volunteers. And this is the driveway. I suspect we're going to end up with people having to park along here, although I'd love it if they didn't have to, because what I really want is it to be dusk as they arrive walking down here, because the part of this concert that Marc finds inexplicable but has captured my imagination is I'm insisting on it being a kind of by candlelight and chandelier, and I have this idea, this vision of what do you call them? Jam jars. We've got these old, these vintage jam jars all the way along the path with candles in. Probably not real candles because they tend to burn out and be annoying to light. But all the way along here so that people are walking down through the puddles and the holes. Oh dear, repairing the driveway could be on the list as well. And then around, oh, that's a bit further, I've got to keep you talking, haven't I? Around the corner here, and then up to the barn just behind the chapel. I think it's going to be so cool to arrive like that, and that we can probably light up the side of the chateau that you see coming through here, just to make it more atmospheric. Gosh, there's a lot to do in 2.5 weeks, isn't there? I'm actually going to leave you there because that's quite a lot of talking for today, but I think you get an idea of what we're going to do, what we have to do, some of the challenges we're facing, and over the next few days I'll take you with me trying to solve some of these challenges. Don't worry, you don't have to sit there whilst I order things on the internet, but for reinforcing the floor, for doing the lighting, for clearing the car park, for doing the signage, everything. I want to show you what's going into this. We're learning on the job, and I think I hope it's quite interesting for you. It's a bit different than doing weddings or hotels. It's not that different because you just have to make the place presentable. But there's some unique challenges involving things like acoustics and yeah, I've just remembered I've got to order music stands. I better do that. Constantly in my head. I've got so many Word documents open on my computer as lists, but I still forget things. Right, thanks for staying with me this far. Hope you enjoyed hearing about our project, and I promise more action in the next video. Bye!